Picture the map: 50 states, one flag, one national economy, but the workload is not evenly distributed. A handful of states don't just contribute, they dominate. They generate the kind of output that can fund armies, build megacities, and move global markets with a single regulatory change or supply chain hiccup. In 2026, the United States produced about $29.18 trillion in nominal GDP. And the top tier of states, they account for a massive share of that total. This isn't a travel brochure. This is a power ranking. We're counting down the 10 state economies that function like engines. They turn labor into output, capital into scale, and infrastructure into leverage. Each one has a distinct advantage: technology, finance, energy, logistics, manufacturing, life sciences, trade corridors, or sheer population gravity. And each one has vulnerabilities that matter because when these states catch a cold, the whole country feels the fever. These numbers are current dollar GDP by state. Bureau of Economic Analysis, 2024. Now let's run the table. Number 10, North Carolina, GDP 839 billions. North Carolina is what happens when you combine old economy discipline with new economy ambition. For decades, it was known for banking, tobacco, and textiles. Today, it's one of the most complete build states in America. Finance, biotech, advanced manufacturing, higher education, and defense-linked industry stacked on top of fast population and business growth. The Research Triangle, Raleigh to Durham to Chapel Hill, is a talent pipeline with serious output: life sciences, clinical research, software, and startup density. Manufacturing is no longer just factories. It's precision work, pharmaceutical production, medical devices, aerospace suppliers, and clean tech components. Meanwhile, Charlotte's role as a major banking hub gives the state financial infrastructure that most regions can't replicate quickly. Why it matters: North Carolina is the quiet kind of dangerous. It doesn't need to be loud. It's methodically building capacity: people, plants, labs, highways, and professional networks. That's how you turn a fast-growing state into a permanent heavyweight. Pressure points: growth strains housing, roads, and schools. And like every magnet state, it has to keep delivering quality of life while scaling up, or it risks turning momentum into congestion. Number 9, New Jersey, GDP 847 billions. New Jersey is small on a map and massive in function. It's a strategic wedge between major markets, and it monetizes location better than almost any state in the country. You could summarize it in 2 words: logistics and life sciences, but that undersells the machine. New Jersey has one of the deepest concentrations of pharmaceutical and biotech activity in the world. Research, development, clinical operations, manufacturing, distribution, and regulatory adjacent services. It also has dense infrastructure, ports, highways, rail, warehousing, and proximity to the biggest consumer markets in the Northeast Corridor. And then there's the invisible economy that doesn't make headlines: compliance, IP law, finance adjacent services, specialized manufacturing, and corporate operations that sit close to capital markets and major clients. Why it matters: New Jersey proves a state doesn't need landmass to generate output. It needs positioning, skilled labor, and high-value industries. It's a high-throughput node in the national network. Pressure points: high costs and high taxes create constant competition with nearby states. The state's advantage is its ecosystem. The risk is pricing that ecosystem out of its own labor force. Number 8, Washington, GDP 855 billions. Washington is built on global-facing industries, software, cloud infrastructure, aerospace, trade, and premium agriculture. The signature here is scale with reach companies headquartered in the state, touch billions of people and millions of businesses worldwide. Seattle is a control center for modern commerce and computing. Amazon reshaped how goods move. Microsoft reshaped how businesses run. Aerospace remains a pillar through Boeing and its supply web. Add world-class trade infrastructure with the Puget Sound ports, and you get a state designed to interface with the Pacific economy. Washington also benefits from a high GDP per capita relative to most states, signaling that its output is driven by high-value work, not just raw headcount. Why it matters. Washington sits at the intersection of two commanding positions: digital infrastructure and international trade. That combination makes it resilient and influential. Pressure points, high housing costs in key metros, plus the cyclicality of aerospace and the regulatory/competitive pressures that come with being home to global tech giants. Number 7, Georgia, GDP 883 billions. Georgia is a logistics and services powerhouse that keeps expanding. Its footprint, if you want to understand Georgia's rise, think in corridors, air, rail, highways, and ports, then add a rapidly diversifying metro economy on top. Atlanta functions like a command hub for the Southeast. Corporate headquarters, finance and fintech, media, cybersecurity, and professional services. Logistics is a major driver, with the region acting as a distribution spine for the eastern half of the country. Manufacturing and film/TV production add diversification and job ladders. Georgia also benefits from the gravitational pull of the broader Southeast's population growth. Why it matters. Georgia's advantage is operational. It moves people, moves goods, and hosts the services that coordinate both. It's a state that monetizes flow. Pressure points. Rapid growth stresses transportation and affordability. The other risk is over-reliance on metro success. Statewide prosperity depends on spreading opportunity beyond the core. Number 6, Ohio, GDP 928 billions. Ohio is industrial America with a modern toolkit. It makes things, moves things, and increasingly designs the systems that make manufacturing efficient. Advanced materials, precision machining, aerospace components, and automotive supply chains. This state's strength is that it isn't a one-trick pony. It has multiple metros with different specialties: manufacturing, logistics, healthcare, education, and corporate operations connected by infrastructure that feeds national distribution. Ohio's economic identity is practical: build, ship, iterate. Why it matters. Every economy needs a manufacturing backbone, even in a digital age. Servers still sit in racks. Cars still need parts. Planes still require components. The states that can manufacture at scale competitively hold strategic value. Pressure points. Like many industrial states, Ohio faces constant pressure to keep upgrading workforce skills and attracting new investment. The win condition is continued modernization. Robotics, automation, and high-value production, not nostalgia. Number 5, Pennsylvania, GDP 1.024 trillion. Pennsylvania is the blend of legacy and reinvention done right. It carries heavy history steel, rail, industrial output, but it has steadily pivoted toward healthcare, education, advanced manufacturing, and energy. Philadelphia is a major hub for medicine, universities, and life sciences. Pittsburgh once synonymous with steel, has become a symbol of industrial transition engineering, robotics, healthcare tech, and research-driven manufacturing. The state's energy portfolio is also significant. Natural gas, nuclear, and growing renewable capacity, all feeding regional and national demand. Why it matters. Pennsylvania's value is depth. It has large institutions that anchor employment and innovation, plus a diverse base that reduces single sector fragility. Pressure points, infrastructure age, and regional inequality. The challenge is keeping smaller cities and rural areas connected to growth, not left behind. Number 4, Illinois. DP 1.137 trillion Illinois is America's logistics nerve center, and Chicago is one of the most important business cities on the planet. This state thrives on coordination. Finance, transportation, commodities, manufacturing, and corporate management. Chicago's economic role is bigger than tourism or architecture. It's where major deals get structured, where freight routes get optimized, where commodities and risk get priced, and where distribution systems are engineered. The state also sits in the heart of agricultural production and processing, tying farm output to national and global supply chains. Why it matters. Illinois is central. It is hard to replace central in a continental economy. When a state is a hub, it collects value from everything passing through goods, capital, talent, and information. Pressure points, fiscal strain, and public confidence. The state's economy is strong, but maintaining momentum requires stability, public safety credibility, and cost discipline that keeps companies expanding rather than relocating. Number 3, Florida, GDP 1.706 trillion. Florida is the masterclass in growth economics, population inflow, construction, services, trade, and tourism layered with a rising profile in finance, aerospace, and technology. Florida's GDP isn't driven by one metro. It's powered by a chain of metros with different strengths. Miami is a global-facing capital and trade gateway with deep ties to Latin America. Orlando is a tourism engine that converts global attention into local revenue. Tampa and Jacksonville keep expanding in logistics, healthcare, defense-linked services, and finance operations. Florida's structure benefits from mobility, people and companies moving in, buying homes, starting businesses, and consuming services. That turns demographic growth into economic output quickly. Why it matters. Florida shows the power of scale, plus momentum. When a state becomes a top destination for migration, it boosts labor supply, consumer demand, housing activity, and tax base all at once. Pressure points, insurance markets, climate risk, and infrastructure load. Growth is an asset, but it's also a stress test. Florida's long-term strength depends on managing risk and keeping the state functional as more people arrive. Number 2, Texas GDP 2.709 trillion. Texas is the American superstate for production and expansion. It's the rare economy that can credibly claim dominance in energy, leadership in manufacturing growth, major presence in tech, and massive logistics capacity, all while adding population and corporate headquarters. Energy is the headline. Oil and gas, petrochemicals, pipelines, refining, and an enormous electricity system. But Texas isn't only fossil fuels. It's also a national leader in wind generation and has been expanding solar capacity rapidly because Texas builds whatever produces power at scale. That energy base attracts industry, chemicals, plastics, heavy manufacturing, data centers, and logistics. Houston anchors energy and global shipping. Dallas-Fort Worth is corporate and distribution muscle. Austin is a tech magnet. San Antonio adds a defense, cybersecurity, and manufacturing. Put it together and you get a state that grows by stacking ecosystems rather than betting on one. Why it matters? Texas is built to scale. It's a platform, land, ports, power, labor, and enterprise-friendly momentum. If you're trying to build big, Texas is designed to say yes. Pressure points, grid reliability, water, infrastructure stress, and the challenge of sustaining talent pipelines as growth accelerates. Scale is powerful, but it demands disciplined planning. Number 1, California GDP 4.103 trillion. California isn't just number 1, it's in a different weight class. By 2024 nominal GDP, California's economy is about 4.1 trillion. In global comparisons, that places it among the largest economies on Earth, large enough to compete with major nations in total output. The reason is diversification at full scale. California doesn't depend on one sector. It stacks multiple world-class industries. Technology, Silicon Valley, and its surrounding ecosystems don't merely produce apps. They build the infrastructure of the modern world hardware, software platforms, semiconductor-adjacent design, AI tooling, cloud services, consumer devices, and the venture systems that finance risk. Apple helped define the smartphone era. Google helped define how information is organized and monetized, entertainment and media. The state exports culture film, streaming, music ecosystems, content production, and the business machinery behind it. Trade and logistics. The ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach form one of the most important container gateways in the Western Hemisphere, linking U.S. consumers and manufacturers to global supply chains. When those ports slow down, prices and inventory levels across the country feel it. Agriculture. California is a food power with high-value crops, scale farming, and export capability, turning climate and land into commercial output. Biotech and health innovation. Research hospitals, universities, lab clusters, and venture-backed biotech operations feed a pipeline from science to product. Aerospace and a defense-linked industry. From legacy contractors to newer space tech suppliers, California remains a serious player in advanced engineering. Why it matters? California is America's innovation factory and one of its most critical trade nodes. It is a state where new industries are born, financed, staffed, scaled, and exported to the world. Pressure points, the price of dominance, is cost housing, taxes, and regulatory complexity. These pressures can push people and businesses to expand elsewhere, which is why California's long-term edge depends on maintaining affordability pathways and infrastructure that match its economic scale. So that's the top 10 10-state economies that don't simply participate in the national engine. They shape its RPM. Here's the deeper point. Economic power is not just how much money is made. It's how a state converts advantages into leverage. Some states monetize location, ports, corridors, gateways. Some monetize brains, research clusters, patents, venture networks. Some monetize resources, energy, land, water, raw materials. Some monetize systems, finance, logistics, manufacturing ecosystems that turn complexity into profit. And when you zoom out, you see the real hierarchy. The states at the top aren't just rich, they're strategically positioned. They control infrastructure, talent, capital, and industrial capacity. They don't merely react to the economy, they define what the economy becomes next. California holds the crown in total output. Texas is the scales challenger with unmatched momentum. New York remains the financial command center. Florida is the growth machine. And the rest of the top 10, Illinois, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Georgia, Washington, New Jersey, North Carolina form a lattice of logistics, manufacturing, research, and operational capacity that keeps the whole country functioning. That's the scoreboard. That's the pecking order. And whether you're building a career, starting a business, investing, or simply trying to understand where power really sits, in America, this is the map that matters,